Igor Ivanovich Sikorsky, tr. Igor Ivanovich Sikorsky J. May 25, 1889 – October 26, 1972, was a Russian-American aviation pioneer in both helicopters and fixed-wing aircraft. He designed and flew the world's first multi-engine fixed-wing aircraft, the rский VIAF, in 1913, and the first airliner, ɪ́vānəvitʃ, in 1914. After immigrating to the United States in 1919, Sikorsky founded the Sikorsky Aircraft Corporation in 1923, and developed the first of Pan American Airways ocean-conquering flying boats in the 1930s. In 1939, Sikorsky designed and flew the Vought Sikorsky VS-300, the first viable American helicopter, which pioneered the rotor configuration used by most helicopters today. Sikorsky modified the design into the Sikorsky R-4, which became the world's first mass-produced helicopter in 1942. Early life. Igor Sikorsky was born in Kiev, Russian Empire, the youngest of 5 children. His father, Ivan Alexeyevich Sikorsky, had a Russian and noble Polish family background. A professor of psychology, Ivan was the son and grandson of Russian Orthodox priests and held monarchist and Russian nationalist views. Igor Sikorsky was Russian Orthodox Christian. Following the Russian Revolution, Sikorsky became a white émigré and opposed Soviet rule. Igor Sikorsky's mother, Maria Stefanovna Sikorskaya, was a physician who did not work professionally. She is sometimes called Zinaida Sikorsky. While homeschooling young Igor, she gave him a great love for art, especially in the life and work of Leonardo da Vinci, and the stories of Jules Verne. In 1900, at age 11, he accompanied his father to Germany and through conversations with his father, became interested in natural sciences. After returning home, Sikorsky began to experiment with model flying machines, and by age 12, he had made a small rubber band-powered helicopter. Sikorsky began studying at the St. Petersburg Imperial Russian Naval Academy in 1903, at the age of 14. In 1906, he determined that his future lay in engineering, so he resigned from the academy, despite his satisfactory standing, and left the Russian Empire to study in Paris. He returned to Russia in 1907, enrolling at the Mechanical College of the Kiev Polytechnic Institute. After the academic year, Sikorsky again accompanied his father to Germany in the summer of 1908, where he learned of the accomplishments of the Wright brothers' flyer and Ferdinand von Zeppelin's dirigible. Sikorsky later said about this event, "Within 24 hours, I decided to change my life's work. I would study aviation, aircraft designer." With financial backing from his sister Olga, Sikorsky returned to Paris in 1909 to study aeronautics in the world-renowned École des Techniques Aéronautiques et de Construction Automobile in Paris, engineering school, and to purchase aircraft parts. At the time, Paris was the center of the aviation world. Sikorsky met with aviation pioneers, to ask them questions about aircraft and flying. In May 1909, he returned to Russia and began designing his first helicopter, which he began testing in July 1909. Despite his progress in solving technical problems of control, Sikorsky realized that the aircraft would never fly. He finally disassembled the aircraft in October 1909, after he determined that he could learn nothing more from the design. "I had learned enough to recognize that with the existing state-of-the-art engines, materials, and, most of all, the shortage of money and lack of experience, I would not be able to produce a successful helicopter at that time." Sikorsky's first aircraft of his own design, the S-1, used a 15-horsepower Anzani engine that could not lift the aircraft. His second 25-horsepower Anzani Model S-2 flew on June 16, 1910 at a height of a few feet. Later, Sikorsky built the two-seat S-5, his first design not based on other European aircraft. Flying this original aircraft, Sikorsky earned his pilot license, Fédération Aéronautique Internationale License No. 64 issued by the Imperial Aero Club of Russia in 1911. During a demonstration of the S-5, the engine quit and Sikorsky was forced to make a crash landing to avoid a wall. It was discovered that a mosquito in the gasoline had been drawn into the carburetor, starving the engine of fuel. The close call convinced Sikorsky of the need for an aircraft that could continue flying if it lost an engine. His next aircraft, the S-6, held 3 passengers and was selected as the winner of the Moscow Aircraft Exhibition held by the Russian Army in February 1912. In early 1912, Igor Sikorsky became chief engineer of the aircraft division for the Russian Baltic Railroad car works in St. Petersburg. His work at RBVZ included the construction of the first 4-engine aircraft, the S-21 Rусский VIAF, which he initially called Le Grand when fitted with just 2 engines, then as the Bolshoi Baltiski when fitted with 4 engines for the first time. Each wing panel's pair of power plants in a push-pull tandem configuration previous to the 4-tractor-engined Rусский VIAF. He also served as the test pilot for its first flight on May 13, 1913. In recognition for his accomplishment, he was awarded an honorary degree in engineering from St. Petersburg Polytechnical Institute in 1914. Sikorsky took the experience from building the Rусский VIAF to develop the S-22 ɪ́vānəvitʃ airliner. Due to outbreak of World War I, he redesigned it as the world's first 4-engined bomber, for which he was decorated with the Order of St. Vladimir. After World War I, Igor Sikorsky briefly became an engineer for the French forces in Russia during the Russian Civil War. Seeing little opportunity for himself as an aircraft designer in war-torn Europe, and particularly Russia, ravaged by the October Revolution and Civil War, he immigrated to the United States, arriving in New York on March 30, 1919. List of aircraft designed by Sikorsky: S-6 3-passenger plane 1912, S-21 Rусский VIAF 4-engine biplane 1913, S-22 ɪ́vānəvitʃ 4-engine biplane 1913, S-29 twin-engine biplane 1924, S-42 Clipper flying boat 1934, VS-300 experimental prototype helicopter 1939, VS-44X Gambian flying boat 1942, Our 4 world's first production helicopter 1942. Life in the United States. In the United States, Sikorsky first worked as a schoolteacher and a lecturer, while looking for an opportunity to work in the aviation industry. In 1932, he joined the faculty of the University of Rhode Island to form an aeronautical engineering program and remained with the university until 1948. He also lectured at the University of Bridgeport. In 1923, Sikorsky formed the Sikorsky Manufacturing Company in Roosevelt, New York. He was helped by several former Russian military officers. Among Sikorsky's chief supporters was composer Sergei Rachmaninoff, who introduced himself by writing a check for $5,000. Although his prototype was damaged in its first test flight, Sikorsky persuaded his reluctant backers to invest another $2,500. With the additional funds, he produced the S-29, one of the first twin-engine aircraft in America, with a capacity for 14 passengers and a speed of 115 miles per hour. The performance of the S-29, slow compared to military aircraft of 1918, proved to be a make-or-break moment for Sikorsky's funding. In 1928, Sikorsky became a naturalized citizen of the United States. The Sikorsky Manufacturing Company moved to Stratford, Connecticut in 1929. It became a part of the United Aircraft and Transport Corporation in July of that year. The company manufactured flying boats, such as the S-42 Clipper, used by Pan Am for transatlantic flights. Meanwhile, Sikorsky also continued his earlier work on vertical flight while living in Nichols, Connecticut. On February 14, 1929, he filed an application to patent a direct-lift amphibian aircraft which used compressed air to power a direct-lift propeller, and two smaller propellers for thrust. On June 27, 1931, Sikorsky filed for a patent for another direct-lift aircraft, and was awarded patent number 1,994,488 on March 19, 1935. His design plans eventually culminated in the first flight of the Vought Sikorsky VS-300 on September 14, 1939, with the first free flight occurring 8 months later on May 24, 1940. Sikorsky's success with the VS-300 led to the R-4, which became the world's first mass-produced helicopter in 1942. Sikorsky's final VS-300 rotor configuration, comprising a single main rotor and a single anti-torque tail rotor, has proven to be one of the most popular helicopter configurations, being used in most helicopters produced today. Igor Sikorsky was also on the board of directors for the Tolstoy Foundation Center in Valley Cottage, New York. Family. Sikorsky was married to Olga Fyodorovna Simkovich in Russia. They were divorced and Olga remained in Russia with their daughter, Tanya, as Sikorsky departed ahead of the October Revolution. In 1923, Sikorsky's sisters immigrated to the United States, bringing 6-year-old Tanya with them. Sikorsky married Elizabeth Semyon in 1924, in New York. Sikorsky and Elizabeth had 4 sons, Sergei, Nikolai, Igor Jr., and George. Tanya Sikorsky von York, Sikorsky's eldest child and only daughter. Tanya was born in Kiev, Ukrainian People's Republic, eventually part of the Soviet Union. Educated in the United States, she earned a B.A. at Barnard College and a doctorate at Yale University. She was one of the original faculty members of Sacred Heart University in Bridgeport, Connecticut, where she served as professor of sociology for 20 years. Sergei Sikorsky, Sikorsky's eldest son. Sergei served in the United States Coast Guard, and later earned a degree from the University of Florence. He joined United Technologies in 1951, and retired in 1992, as Vice President of Special Projects at Sikorsky Aircraft. Igor Sikorsky Jr. is an attorney, businessman and aviation historian. Igor Sikorsky III is also a pilot, and, together with his wife Karen, owns and operates Bradford Camps on Munsungan Lake in remote northern Maine. Nikolai Sikorsky. Death and legacy. Sikorsky died at his home in Easton, Connecticut, on October 26, 1972, and is buried in St. John the Baptist Russian Orthodox Cemetery located on Nichols Avenue in Stratford. The Sikorsky Memorial Bridge, which carries the Merritt Parkway across the Housatonic River next to the Sikorsky corporate headquarters, is named for him. Sikorsky has been designated a Connecticut aviation pioneer by the Connecticut State Legislature. The Sikorsky Aircraft Corporation in Stratford, Connecticut, continues to the present day as one of the world's leading helicopter manufacturers, and a nearby small airport has been named Sikorsky Memorial Airport. Sikorsky was inducted into the National Inventors Hall of Fame and the Junior Achievement U.S. Business Hall of Fame in 1987. In October 2011, one of the streets in Kiev was renamed after Sikorsky. The decision was made by the city council at the request of the U.S. Embassy in Ukraine, which opened its new office in that street. The Sikorsky's family house in the city's historical center is preserved to this day but is in a neglected condition pending restoration. In November 2012, one of the Russian supersonic heavy strategic bomber Tu-160, based at the Engels II Air Force Base, was named after Igor Sikorsky. That caused controversy among Air Base crew members. One of the officers said that Igor Sikorsky doesn't deserve it because he laid the foundations of the US, rather than Russian aviation. However, the long-range aviation command officer said that Igor Sikorsky is not responsible for the activities of his military aircraft. In 2013, Flying Magazine ranked Sikorsky number 12 on its list of the 51 heroes of aviation. Philosophical and religious views. Sikorsky was a deeply religious Russian Orthodox Christian and authored 2 religious and philosophical books. Summarizing his beliefs, in the latter he wrote, "Our concerns sink into insignificance when compared with the eternal value of human personality, a potential child of God which is destined to triumph over life, pain, and death. No one can take this sublime meaning of life away from us, and this is the one thing that matters." Published works. Sikorsky, Igor Ivan. The Message of the Lord's Prayer. New York. C. Scribner's Sons, 1942. OCLC 2,928,920. Sikorsky, Igor Ivan. The Invisible Encounter. New York. C. Scribner's Sons, 1947. OCLC 1,446,225. Sikorsky, Igor Ivan. The Story of the Winged S. Late Developments and Recent Photographs of the Helicopter, an Autobiography. New York. Mead, 1967. OCLC 1,396,277.